From California, Ms. Jackie Speier is organized and recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I find this hearing to be both edifying and very painful. Mr. Killoy, in your testimony, you made the assertion that modern sporting rifles are not inherently more dangerous than other popular firearms. Is that true? Is that what you said?
I think that's paraphrasing, but yes, Congresswoman.
So I don't know if you took the time to listen to the hearing we had on Uvalde and the families that appeared, and the pediatrician who went to school at Robb Elementary and is very committed to the community. He went into that morgue, not the morgue, he went into that emergency room, and one of the children was decapitated. The other child body was in shreds and could hardly be identified. How can you say that that's a sporting rifle?
Congresswoman, respectfully, obviously the events in Uvalde are tragic on so many levels, but to blame the firearm, it's a semi-automatic firearm. The semi-automatic firearms had been around since 1885 when they were first invented. Many of them are in larger calibers than the .223 caliber that's used in modern sporting rifle typically. And again, it's an inanimate object used by a wicked.
All right, but it is a weapon of war, Mr. Killoy, and no matter how you want to sugarcoat it, it decapitates people. It shreds their bodies. It is not a gun you use as a sporting rifle to shoot a deer. Let me move on to the Protection of Law, Commerce, and Arms Act, PLCAA, has really had the effect of robbing the American people of a mechanism to ensure that gun industry is protecting American consumers. We pass laws all the time to protect consumers that manufacturers find distasteful or costly, whether it's airbags or seatbelts. If a product's unsafe or could easily be made safer, we take action. Now, Ms. Sampson, how many Americans die in accidental firearm accidents every year?
There's about 9 per day. I'm not sure what that adds up to in a year.
9 per day of deaths that could be avoided with any kind of safety mechanism applied. How many of those deaths are children?
I'm not sure. I think it's 9 children per day. I'm sorry about that.
9 children per day that are tragically killed because they were playing with a firearm that was loaded, correct?
Yes.
The SEC filing for Ruggers says that firearm preference can be, quote, driven by deeply personal views, and, quote, many pistol shooters do not like magazines that have a disconnect feature. In fact, even when you make handguns with magazine disconnects, they're easy to circumvent. There are multiple guides on how to remove the magazine disconnect. Mr. Buzzi, what do you make of the argument that a consumer's personal views about how a handgun feels should trump the risk that a child might accidentally shoot herself?
Well, these are the questions that legislative bodies such as this need to wrestle with for the good of society. There is a use for a handgun, obviously, and there is a need for things to be safe. And as you noted, we've wrestled with these things in cars and cigarettes and everything else through the history of our country.
I want to show you this pink AR rifle, obviously being promoted for girls, I guess, to use. There appears to be a systematic effort underway by many of you as manufacturers to promote having children get engaged in wanting to have guns. Is that your newest market? Any of you can answer that. Do you see that as a market that is untapped?
Congresswoman, I think what's appropriate in the topic of firearms and children is properly training and educating children at age appropriate levels to handle firearms safely, to understand that used improperly, they are a danger to themselves and others, and to leave it alone and not let their curiosity get the best of them. That's one of the reasons Ruger has supplied over
Gentleman's
25
time
million
has
locks
expired.
in the
Gentleman's
last
time has
few
expired.
decades to keep our firearms out of unauthorized hands like children.
Thank you. My time has expired.